The person we're going to have next really needs no introduction. I think everybody has seen her on Shark Tank. And we've had Robert, we've had Kevin, I know Damon. But when I started to really read and watch some of the videos Barbara had done, presentations she'd done, and read her book, I really came to admire her on an incredible level. She came from humble beginnings. She started her business from nothing against every odd, every obstacle. She's super, super tenacious. She's resourceful as hell. And the reason I had her here today, and then we're going to focus on for me, and then of course we'll open it up for Q&A, is talking about how to build just an incredible brand and how to build a sales team, because that's what we really all need in order to drive the company forward. So I'm not going to do a big introduction. I want to save time for questions. I want to save our time with her. And I've got a quick video that'll kind of tell her story briefly. So let's go ahead and have that video.
When we were growing up here, we were allowed to play from that corner to that corner. So this one block was my world as a kid. All 12 of us lived on that ground floor there.
When I think about growing up in that 2-bedroom flat with 9 siblings, and now I have a penthouse on 5th Avenue, New York City, where I could actually see my hometown from my big terrace, I think to myself, isn't this a miracle? You never know what life brings. Pretty remarkable. I was a straight D student my entire childhood. I didn't learn until I was much older that I had been dyslexic, but in those days you got labeled the dumb kid. I've spent my entire life trying to prove once and for all that I am not stupid. That's the truth. That's what drives me. To tell you a simple story, really. You have failed to get your message across, and I'm listening with both ears wide open. Pipe down, little man. You'd be out of your mind to do a deal without me involved.
Welcome, Barbara Corcoran. Real estate expert. Properties, Barbara Corcoran. General manager.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you $100,000. $55,000 for 15%. I'm so excited. This is the first time I have ever been given an award for creating jobs.
Barbara Corcoran, very clearly, like she had to be part of the deal. Barbara said, you know what? I'm going to change my offer. I'm going to give you the full offer.
All right, help me welcome Barbara Corcoran. Yes. So mighty, so mighty. I love it. All right, have a seat.
What are you guys smiling about already?
We were just talking about direct mail.
Oh, how exciting.
That was very, yeah, they love when I talk about direct mail.
I bet.
It was very exciting, yes, okay. So how's Nashville been so far? Is this the first time
we've
you've
been
been
here since yesterday afternoon, so not long enough to really judge it, but everybody's happy here. What, are you on drugs?
Yes, that's exactly right.
I know I'm not in New York.
A lot of sweet tea, yes. All right, so I want to start out, guys, I'm going to ask her some questions, and then we'll be thinking about questions you want to ask her, and we're going to have you come to the mic. But I know you started out from very humble beginnings, And the video touched on it a little bit.
Yes, of
But
course.
tell the story.
Well, I started out from humble beginnings, as you put it, but I think I was the luckiest kid on earth because I had two parents that loved me, and they're great parents. And I've my whole life seen people who have succeeded in their life with nobody who loves them. I don't know how they pull that shit off, really. So, you know, we had very, very phenomenal parents. And we also had great role models as kids. My mother was a powerhouse in organizational skill and in motivation. She could have run a big corporation, I'm convinced, but she decided she'd follow the Pope's good advice and have a baby every year and a half until she had 10. And she wanted 12 from what I remember. But anyway, my dad also was a great role model, which I think helped me tremendously with starting a business because he got fired every year of his life because of insubordination. And he would come home early from work, sit at the table, and he'd say, "Guess what, kids?" We'd all scream, "You're fired!" And he'd go, "Yeah, I told Mrs. Stein to shove that job up where the sun don't shine. Yay, Dad!" So I won't say more than that, but interestingly, of the 10 children, 9 out of 10 are entrepreneurs. And I think we are all entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs because they have the work ethic of my mother and father and the role modeling of my dad. Like, why would I want to work for somebody? You know?
Did he ever end up running his own company or running his own business?
Yes, he did for 3 months, and we designed a belt buckle box, which I could draw well. My brother and I were the drawers in the family, and we designed the box. He got a $1,000 check, and when he brought it home, it was called, my father has an odd sense of humor. His company name was Pre-Press Preparations. I do everything before you go to press versus go to different shops, okay? And he called himself Paul Peterson. And when a client rarely called, he'd say, "Hello, this is Paul Peterson." And then he'd say, "Let me connect you with Mr. Edward Corcoran." And they'd go, "Hello, Edward Corcoran." But wait, what was that? Oh, that lasted, I don't really recall, maybe 2 months. But when he got his $1,000 check, I remember the excitement of our father being in business for himself, like John Wayne himself, you know. And he passed that $1,000 check around the table at dinner, and we said, "What is it?" We go, $1,000. And he goes, "Yep, and we're going to Atlantic City and spending it." And that's what we did. And then we never got another check, and so we went back to work.
Right.
But interestingly enough, spending that money, which today would be like, what, maybe 10,000, we got anything we wanted. But spending that money in that whole week, we'd never been on a vacation, a real hotel. It was like our best memory of life. So good use of funds, maybe. It depends how you look at it, right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then you
And do you want me to address the room or to speak to you?
No, either way.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude to you.
No,
Yeah,
they're,
okay.
they're watching us on the big screens
Anyway,
as well.
okay.
So, yeah, so, you know, you had 20 jobs, I think. You bounced around different, you ended up being
Yeah.
a waitress. You learned a lot about business at being
One
a
of my
waitress.
favorite jobs.
Talk about that just a little bit.
What I liked about waitressing is I wasn't in a classroom where I didn't perform well. I didn't have to read anything, which I couldn't do. But I could romance the guy at the counter. You know, "How are you? How's your day?" Because I was friendly. And I could also flirt a little.
Commission job, right?
Thank you,
get
the main
tips.
thing. You do a good job, you get paid more, okay? But I had a woman I competed with at the diner that really caused a problem, and I learned my first marketing lesson, honestly, and I became a phenomenal marketer. I believe that's why I did well in business, mostly. But she had a gimmick that I had to compete with. She looked just like Dolly Parton. She had 2 big-ass tits, like boxes. And she would balance 2 coffee cups, double stacked in 2 hands, 2 more in each chest. I mean, not making this shit up, right? And the men were like, "Ah!" And there I was 23 and rather plain, you know, long blonde hair. But my mother said, "Why don't you braid your blonde hair and put red ribbons to match your pinafore?" And I did, and son of a gun, that was exactly the night that Ramon Simone from the Basque Country walked in and offered me a ride home. And he became my business partner and my boyfriend, you know? So you never know. Like, I think I mean, it's silly. I mean, why even bother thinking back? You can't change anything. But I'm thinking if my mother hadn't said, "Why don't you put the ribbons?" maybe he would have been a glorious counter just like all the other guys, right? But he nodded at me like, I looked kind of like a virgin. Well, I was a virgin, not for long once he walked in. So you realize, you know, men like 2 kinds of girls, the Dolly Parton type and the innocent. I was the innocent,
short term, and Dolly was experienced.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, I think it goes to the point that you got to work with whatever you've got. You got to sell what
you've
you've got,
got to.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's an angle, there's a market for whatever. You just got to believe in it. So
Play it up.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the real estate company you started, because I really want people to understand you did not have it easy. And then with Ramon, you got involved, and that whole breakup. As much as you want to share
life,
with that,
right? That's life. A shortcut version of it, because that could go on forever. The lucky break was Ramon Simone walking in the diner. The second lucky break was that he said, not my idea, "You've got a great personality. You'd be great at real estate sales." And he said, "Why don't you start a company? I'll give you $1,000. How many people can go through life and find somebody who says, "Why don't you start a company? Here's my idea. You'd be great at it, and here's $1,000. Pretty lucky, right? And I thought, why not? I tried every other thing out there. Give it a whirl. And I just happened to be good at it. And because it used the same skills I had as a waitress, really, I got set free outside the diner, right? And I schmoozed people up all day, and I really enjoyed people. You know, it wasn't like I was selling them. I was just very energetic, showed them a lot, and talked all the time. And I did very well in sales right from the get-go. But what went wrong with Ray was that I credited him for my entire success, but you have to appreciate he took me out of that blue-collar town. Gave me $1,000, not $1,000, that was for the starting the business. He gave me whatever it cost to put me up at the Barbizon Hotel for Women for a week when my parents thought I was becoming a prostitute to moving to New York, right? And I never went back to New Jersey. And then he gave me a $100 bill to go buy myself a real New York outfit. That was a confidence builder. I never had new clothes. I got my sister Denise's pass-me-downs, which were pass-me-downs from my cousin Jennifer, and who knows where they were before that. And so I had a new outfit for the first time, lavender top to bottom, and I saw him as the white knight, which he was, even though I had dark olive skin, jet black hair. And he took me out of my hometown, said I could do it, suggested I go to the Barbizon Hotel in New York City for a week. Then gave me the $1,000. You see where I'm going. I mean, who was I before I found Ray? And then one night he came home as I was making pasta for his 3 girls. After I moved in with, he said, and I have 3 kids, they're moving in. Oh, surprise! So, but I'm making pasta one night, and he walks in and he says, you know, I'm going to marry your secretary. Because now we had 14 agents. I had an assistant who called on accounts with me. And I said, that bitch. I mean, who's a really lovely woman, but she was 5 years younger than me. Ray was 10 years older than me. And he's going down the food chain. She still had long blonde hair. I chopped mine off. It's easier. Mistake if you're a woman. Want to keep that in mind. And, you know, he said, take my time moving out. I moved out in about a minute flat.
And you're in a partnership with him at this point.
Well,
yeah?
He's a controlling partner, because the first thing I wanted to do when I went back to work was he said he was going to move Tina into my chair because they were engaged. So they shared the office. So I felt like in an old-fashioned Christmas card, you see somebody on the windows crying outside in the snow. I swear that's my self-image. I was like, I saw them inside giggling, like outside, like. So I said, you have to fire Tina because it's not fair. I can't just do this. And he said, I'm the 51% partner. That was the marker right there. That's when I think mentally I laid a foot on the floor. You know, be careful. If anybody here is fooling around, watch out for the revenge of a woman. You don't want to mess. It goes both sides, I guess, but I find that women are a little bit more powerful in revenge than the men generally are. But I walked in one Friday morning, I said, this is it, a year later. I said, I can't do this anymore. We're ending the business today. We're chopping it up just like a football, whatever you call those things where you pick the football people. And I said, you pick the first person. We chopped those 14 people in half. I took my people to the corner of the room, and I said, guess what? On Monday, we're moving to a new office. We are where? It's a surprise.
You had no idea.
No idea.
Right.
But, you know, we had paid our rent every month, and my landlord rented me the 11th floor, directly over the 8th floor in our Midtown Manhattan office building. And I love going in that elevator and running into Ray and team. This is so sick. I really needed to shrink. But I love being in the elevator and the bing, and I say, going up. I got such kicks out of that. Okay. But anyway, that was the beginning of the Corcoran Group, really. But in those days, 42nd Street was a slum, it was a ghetto, and it was a pornography alley. And you could go down there and order desks, which I did, 14 desks. I moved them in on a Saturday, not me. The guys ran them up and physically moved them in. Got phones installed on Saturday morning. Monday, we were open for business. Everybody's boxes, I packed everything, was neatly on their desk with a ribbon. Welcome to the Corcoran Group. The first company name was Corcoran Simone. I like the accent. But the second company, I named the group, which is kind of fashionable now, but wasn't then, because I knew I was going to need the help of the group to make it through life. Let me not forget to say one thing, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking too long.
No, please.
Yeah, okay, so just shut me the...
No, I want to hear it, yeah.
This was the best thing that ever happened to me, I have to say, in my business career. When I was leaving the office that Friday afternoon, Ray was, of course, rightfully very surprised I had ended a business with no notice, right? Divided the money, everything, which wasn't much, but it was divided. And he said, Barbara, you'll never succeed without me. And you have two responses to that. And I guess it's an indication of what's inside your gut, right? I remember when he said that, I turned into an older woman. And I remember just looking at him and smiling and thinking, oh yeah, you just watch me. I'd rather die than you see me not succeed. And that was the beginning of the revenge. And here's the interesting thing. I don't think I would have honestly succeeded in business through the recessions and the hard times without that insult. Insulting can be a powerful motivator. I'm not that style of manager. But for the right person, and I even wonder in hindsight if you said it purposely knowing my personality to help me, because that helped me think of ideas on the brink of disaster over and over again. I would just I'm not gonna let him see me. He probably didn't care, but to me it was the most important thing in life.
Was that the real driver for a long time, or at some point did you say, hey, I can actually make this? Like, at what point did you kind of go, holy shit, I might actually be able to build this and sell this?
I never thought once I could build it and sell it, because that wasn't my goal. What I was building was a happy family. I was kind of doing a business version of what my parents had done at home. Okay. And I enjoyed the process. I wasn't sophisticated. I didn't know the business was worth anything until 1 year. We had no profits, year after year after year. So we were in business probably close to 18, 19 years before I ever had a profit. Why? Because I was a spender. I would see that money coming in and spend it before it ever hit the desk. I was always building, throwing the money back in, another office, another person,
So you weren't wasting it, you were just investing it.
Well, I wasted
somewhat.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
But mostly, yeah. Wasted on the business, maybe people would say. But I felt like I don't believe you could sharpshoot in business. You got to throw a heck of a lot on the wall and see what sticks. I mean, if you could sharpshoot, we'd all be geniuses. I made a lot of the stuff didn't stick. But I was willing to keep throwing, and see how far I could go,
right.
But I didn't answer your question, what was it really? Because I think I didn't mean to avoid it. You said, you don't even remember? Who gives a damn?
Yeah, right. I don't know what, yeah.
All right.
I'm just sitting here listening. I mean, well, let's see, guys, I've read your books and I've watched your videos. And the thing I don't know, how many of you have watched a video or an interview or read Barbara's book? Okay, so you really need to.
Men don't read my book. Come on, they wouldn't be caught dead unless you're gay, and you don't want to get that out.
Yeah, well, Peter in the back read it, but that's because Leah made him do it.
Are you a gay man, sir?
Yes. He is.
Okay.
He doesn't know it yet. Okay. Anyway,
I hope he's a good sport.
Yeah, Peter's great. But I think that the thing I want, it's about what I asked really was about overcoming those obstacles. To really boil it down, like you haven't seen it because like you're kind of given these little touch points, but you really went through some tough times, tough decisions.
Who builds a business who doesn't go through tough times?
Right, but you are what I'm most impressed about is that you're like I said to you on the phone, you're like a shark. You just keep swimming. You go over, you go under, you go through, you eat it, you know, whatever. There's always a way. Are you doing that consciously, or like, because everybody in here has got challenges, and a lot of people bump up against them and they stop. How did you keep, despite all that, the emotional, I'm sure there was emotional angst, everything.
I wish I could say there was a big emotional angst, but I think I was so busy working hard.
Okay.
That it just was another thing I had to get through. And I'll tell you what is interesting. I don't know if this applies to every business, but I've invested in a lot of businesses. I'm sorry for the people here on this side. I've invested in a lot of a lot of businesses. And I have found, well, through Shark Tank, it's been a real eye-opener because I have 70-something businesses, and I have probably maybe 11 really successful ones. And I often think, what's the commonality? What's the commonality? Because I want to get smarter on the show, and I don't. I keep putting money on losers and winners. I'm like, why don't I get smarter on this show? But I'm always thinking, what's the commonality? And they do, the winners have one thing very much in common with me, to your point, which is they are very good at thinking fast on their feet, having something bad happen, and somehow turning it into an advantage. And I have to tell you, I think that's nothing more than a certain amount of street smarts that you learn through life, right? Versus book smarts, which just teaches you to observe, I guess. But more than anything, it teaches you just to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, you know? And I have found that that is my gift. And every time in my career, and I could give you many examples, maybe I'll cite one or two in the interest of time, but every time I've gotten hit with the worst obstacle, it's always been just by staying there. I see some liner, and I see some advantage that I could run right up the damn flagpole. So I do believe life is fair. They slam me on the left, but like that, you kind of get motion and you bounce back, I mean, naturally. And I believe you can mentally expect that, because I think life is very fair. I think when you get committed to coming back on anything, it's kind of like the universe hears you or something. You get pals in the air or something. I always felt this certain gust of people cheering me. Even though there was nobody there, I felt like, yeah, I'm proud of me, they're proud of me, whoever the they was, you know, and it got me to keep pushing. So the best example of that was when interest, and I'll give you one, but even Shark Tank was a result of bouncing back out of failure. But let me give you what made the most money for me, saved my ass, 11th hour, was had 19% interest rates in New York. There was no market. You know, nobody was buying anything. They're waiting it out. And I was starving to death. I owed $300,000 to Citibank on a credit line I couldn't pay, advertising agency, blah, 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 blah. And I was, for the first time, really thinking I was going down. You know, I always thought on bad times, got scared, but this time I really thought I was going down. But what I did was, nobody was buying anything, and an insurance company called and said, we'd like you to sell these 88 units. They had been to everybody in town. They were on the market now for 2 years. They couldn't be sold. They were the dogs of the market. No kitchens, no baths. They ran out of money in a midstream. And I said, nobody's going to buy this. I hate to tell you. I'm sure they heard it from every broker in town. I wasn't the only one. And that night, because I was meeting with my then business partner, Esther, my partner my whole life, she was telling me how bad things were, and we were going to have to close our doors. It was like a resignation. And it was only her telling us we were going to close the doors, there's no way out, that I had an idea. And I remembered when my mother took her 7 or 8 kids at the time to a puppy sale at my grandpa's house, and the farmer across the street was selling Jack Russell puppies. There is an ending to this long-winded story, and I hope it's worth it. But we watched all these fancy cars. I'd never seen shiny new cars in South Jersey lining up to buy these Jack Russell puppies, and women had like furs on. It was in the late fall, and they looked makeup, you know, all this fancy stuff, and we're staring at them like we're in Hollywood. They were from New York City, and they were there to buy the Jack Russell puppies from a woman who raised them, and they were fashionable dogs. And anyway, there weren't enough puppies to go around. And my mother said, Louise isn't so stupid. She invited all these city slickers in. She said when she knew she didn't have enough puppies. And what do you think happened? The last puppy that was grabbed, even as kids, we knew that puppy was going to be dead within an hour. It was like worse than the run. It was a sick puppy, but the woman squeezed, I got one, and all the other people in the line, there were maybe 7 more people bitching and complaining to Louise. And I did an imitation of it and sold 88 units. I priced them all alike. I made a secret sale. I announced it only bring 1 customer each. I had 88 salespeople. Pardon me, I had about 200, 300 salespeople then. And I said, we only have 88 apartments, not enough to go around, 1 person each, come early. And we sold all those 88 non-wanted, stupid apartments with flat prices. Grab it while you can. Who got the best one? Who got the best one? It was an original. It was Louise's puppy sale in New York City. And boom, within an hour, we sold everything, and I came out of that with $1.3 million in net commissions. Paid back Citibank, paid the ad agency, and had over $600,000 in my pocket. And what do you think happened? I opened another office. I got the best lease in town, long term. And you might say that was silly. It wasn't, because I think from that bravery act, boom, put my money down, versus hide like the big guys were doing, because they don't want to lose their money, they have so much. Boom, put it down. That it happened to me again. The real estate market changed. People started buying, and I was out of the woods like that, boom. And I went from, in that real estate recession, from 18th position to like 4, boom, like that. Because everybody else went out of business, you see. So I do believe, I'm sorry, I'll never tell that story again, because now I realize it's too goddamn long, but the lesson, no, it is. I could see it now, like not worth it, the energy.
No, it's worth it. You know, and because you've also
She's
said,
cutting me off, and she's right, yes.
No, you've also said that salespeople, like the really good ones, come back from a hit. Like the ones that,
Yes.
like, and so that's what you're basically describing. So,
Wait, yes, thank you. And let me be succinct, because I could say this very quickly. I studied my salespeople my whole life. What makes them special? Because most people come in for an interview have no experience. How do you know they're going to sell? What do they got? It's on a resume. Is it schooling? I thought it was good schooling, good contacts. The right friends, contacts. I tried all these things. No. It helps to begin, but it doesn't pay off. Finally, I discovered that I had a method for interviewing salespeople called insult them. I know it sounds weird. Insult them and tell them that you don't think they have what it takes, and here's why. And then shut your mouth up and see what they do with it.
that is a great, I've used that since I've heard her say that.
Yeah.
And I've looked at, here's what's funny.
Yeah.
I'll look at someone and say, you know, and I compliment them, you know, I like this about you, I like
You
this.
need the compliment.
I lead with a compliment. I said, but you know what? I just don't get the sense that you have the grit
Yeah.
to really make it here.
Yeah.
And you know what some of them say? You're right. No, I'm serious. And you're like, so you're throwing an objection at them.
Yeah.
And if they roll over, well, what the hell's they going to do when they're in a, you know, in a...
You know what's even worse, I think, which is the great majority, I find in my business responded something like this. Oh, no, I really have the grit. No, I'm a good hard worker. No, I really. I'm like, I hear the words, but I don't hear the music. The good ones, my superstars, this is what they sounded like. I'm blending now, but something like, what do you mean you don't think I have the grit? You think I got the because I didn't have grit? That's what I want to taste. You're hired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, let's talk about hiring. How many
Can I
salespeople-
just say one other thing? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, please.
Because I do think it's a worthwhile point, and it's one line, okay? Here's what I concluded after all those years. The difference between the people that were making $3 million a year with the same apartments, the same city, the same support services, versus my average person when I sold my firm was earning $67,000 a year. How does somebody earn 3? The great majority doing 67, what do they have? I found that when they take a hit, which sales is all getting hit, rejection, that they felt sorry for themselves, that's normal, but they took less time feeling sorry for themselves. It's almost like their IQ was low enough. Really, where they said, let me get back up and get hit again. When all intelligence would say, lay low a little bit and take care of yourself, lick your wounds. They didn't have that thing about, oh, poor me. And now what do you think? Flash forward to Shark Tank. How do I know when I have a success on my hand? Not on Shark Tank night, because they get the publicity, they're going to have a success. I wait till they get their first bad hit, and I want to be on the line to hear what they do. And what do you think? The minute I hear, well, you know, it wasn't my fault, that guy promised me, blah, blah. It's not me, it's not my fault. Oh, poor me. Anything that smells like that, I go over, because I have all my entrepreneurs I invested in beautiful matted frames hanging all over my wall so I can keep them straight, because I can't remember names well. Anyway, I walk right over, I hang up the phone, I walk over, I turn them upside down and remind myself never to spend another minute with them. They're not going to win. And guess what? I'm always right. Not because I turn them upside down like a jinx or something, but because that is the mark of a guy or gal that's not going to make it. And I've never found an exception. So my best report card, I have to wait for the first big hit and listen real hard.
As to why they did it, why they didn't do it, etc.
They blame. They don't, my good ones, take it. Yeah, well, that's, and they're too busy to really lick their wounds. Yeah.
Right, they're on to what we're going to do about it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you built, how many salespeople did you have at the?
Well, when I sold the firm, I had roughly 1,100. Yeah.
1,100.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
That's not big today. I mean, it was the largest firm then.
Right.
Now, Corcoran Group, I believe, has close to 4,000 salespeople because they've acquired many, many companies.
Right. And I heard you say once you were interviewing Robert actually about his book, and you said something to the effect that you knew you were in real estate, but your real business was growing and cultivating good salespeople.
That's what I did well. That and marketing.
Talk about that.
Yeah. I think I had a great ability to hire the right people for the right stuff. Not that I didn't make mistakes, but I think I was very intuitive. And I think, believe it or not, that came from having such a rough time at school because I just watched the kids who had the answers and could read, and then I got to read out loud. I would go, my stomach's a little sick, you know. You learn shame in a classroom when you can't say the words in front of your peers, you know. And so I think I learned how to size up circumstances to avoid trouble, you know. And that got me very tuned into people, moods, how I could gesture out of something, how I could finesse, you know,
right.
and not look stupid, okay. So I think my ability to judge people, their essence, was my true gift. True gift. And I could even, I know this sounds weird, I could walk into a sales pit of 300 people in an open, like this room, half the width would be typical, but that length in a typical sales office, maybe 150 people. And I could walk through the sales, good morning, good morning, good morning, Barbara, good morning, good morning, good morning, and I could feel a vibe. I know this sounds like witchcraft. Now you'll think I'm really smoking dope, and I mean to before I die. But I could feel a vibe and go over to Mary and say, how are you doing, Mary? Put my hand on her shoulder, come on, how are you doing, Mary? And she's, like I read her thoughts, she was just thinking of quitting, giving up. I could feel a negative hole in something. And I could feel a positive. And I really judged people based on that. And I tried to hire positives. Never read a resume, didn't really care what they did before in sales management or clerical support. I would just focus on a couple of narrow parameters for myself. How happy are they? I found that happy people make you money. Get a miserable son of a bitch. You could pour your heart into them, get them a shrink, give them alcohol every morning. They're never gonna be happy. If their mother and father didn't make them happy when they were a kid, you don't have a shot. That's how I feel, okay? So I get happy people, high energy people. I don't even care if they're smart, honest to God. Some of my best people were not so smart about an IQ test, right? But I have high energy, eager beavers who want to please and want to see how far they could go. And if you get also the competitive element in them, that they like to compete, whoa, you got yourself a winner.
Yeah. So how do you find good salespeople? Because everyone here is, you know, they always say it's really hard to find good salespeople.
Two things I consistently did, and I would say for anybody. One is I constantly interviewed, going to the store, Starbucks, being on a plane. I never met anyone and had a conversation where it wasn't an interview. And that's the truth. And why? Because like the person who ran all of my sales I recruited out of American Airlines as an airline stewardess, okay, when she was 35 years old. The most talented sales manager I ever met, I picked up at a fancy hotel in New York who was a concierge guy. Hey, if you ever think about sales, you'd be great in it. Hand him my card. Initially I advertised, in the beginning I had to, but after a while I realized all I did was go out to the universe, talk to people, and if they had those narrow requirements that I felt was my kind of people, I would say, if you ever want to change, if you ever think about doing something, please call me. That's how I got them. I also taught at NYU at night, licensing courses. And so I had streams of people coming in, all who wanted to work for me because I was a teacher, but very few I wanted to work for me, okay? And the last thing I did is I mandated among my sales managers that every Thursday they had to interview, which they fought me tooth and nail for the first year or so because their logic was right. They'd say, why am I interviewing? I don't have a desk. Why do I have to sit here and interview? I don't even have a desk. Can't even promise the people. We don't know when a desk is opening, but here's the magic that happened. When a winner walked in that door, they made a desk. Every time. And so you can't wait till you have the position, then look for it. I constantly, I have the worst part about my current business is I have an office of 5 people. That's it, okay? I'm used to hundreds and hundreds. But what's bad about it is I walk around and meet so many good people and I have no spots for them. It's such a crying shame. I wish I could flash back 20 years ago. Could you work for me? Because I know they were winners, you know? But you're crazy if you wait for a position to open to interview. I think all you really want to do is shop personalities constantly, especially if you want, well, any position.
Always be recruiting. Because
Always
you never know when that rock star's going to
And
show
it
up.
won't happen inside the house. You got to be outside all the time. All the good stuff's on the outside.
You got to network with people, not hide behind the desk.
And not even network. I even think just meeting people. And get rid of your preconceived notions of like where you should find people. Okay, my real estate course, of course, was a natural. But I didn't get nearly out of that what I got out of going out for coffee and making sure I go to a different shop every day, see if they have anybody good lately.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yeah.
And so what if you have a salesperson that won't get out from behind the desk? Because with all this email and social media, everybody wants to sit there and just tweet and...
Dangerous.
Yeah, so how do you get a salesperson out from behind the desk?
There's two ways. Usually you're not going to have a salesperson who's going to be productive who won't get from behind the desk because it's an outward personality, a natural inclination to get out to where the action is. Okay, but I did solve a couple of people who were kind of on the shy side, but I felt like if only they would expose themselves, people would fall in love with them by insisting they partner with somebody. Join them at the hips with a person who really knows how to get outside, let them tag for a week, and then make a financial deal for it. Like, you know, could you give her 5% if she helps you with the deal? You know, and I had tremendous, I didn't call them mentoring programs because I don't think we had the word mentor. But I call them, I don't know, I forget what, some bullshit fancier thing I put on it.
Shadowing or something, yeah.
No, it was bigger than a shadow.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, but it was effective in getting people to get in the habit of seeing the gold outside.
Yes.
But I would say 2 out of 3 times you're pissing your money away, your time, because people don't want to go out. It's like teaching a dog to be friendly on the street when they're always backing up. Generally, you're not going to get them there.
Yeah, then it's not the person. How do you fire somebody who's not productive?
Easy. I love firing people.
Oh, okay.
Because there were 2 reasons I fired people, and it was always on Friday. And all the years I said to someone, hey, do you have a few minutes on Friday to come to my office? I'd love to talk with you about something. Sure, Barbara. Nobody ever said, oh, Friday. Can't imagine nobody ever compared notes. Okay, Friday was a bad day if you were coming to my office. Because I needed the weekend to recover from being like an evil woman. But the truth is I didn't really have to recover. I was recovered by the time they went out the door. The 2 reasons I fired people is they were negative. And I love firing negative people. Because you know what I think? A complainer doesn't complain to themselves. They need somebody else to join their pity party. So they suck another good person in. And I think of a complainer, especially in a sales force or in a clerical force too, gets a sour attitude. They taint other people toward that sour attitude of looking at life or the business or the boss or the manager as what's wrong versus what's right, you know? I'm not talking about critics. Critics are essential to tell you where you need to steer left, okay, and get it early. So you need snitches on the inside of your firm to constantly give you the MO on what you're doing wrong. I'm talking about chronic complainers. I love to fire them. I actually used to picture cutting their throats. Is that sick?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is sick.
It is, yeah, it's a
I
little
know.
weird.
It is sick.
Okay,
She's moving
so-
on that one.
Yeah, let me
But I'm
move
not
on.
finished with
Right,
the, I'm not finished with the cut thing.
Okay, well,
I'm only kidding. Go
let's
ahead,
get
go
back
ahead.
to that. Okay.
Wait, can I say one other thing about fire that has nothing to do with that?
Yes.
Okay. I think the key to general firing, because I usually fired about 15 to 20% of my staff per annum because they couldn't sell. Key to a sales business. Okay? If they can't sell, they're taking your resources, your energy, your desk space, your insurance costs, your accounting costs, your legal, they're sucking it down. It's an overhead to a desk that's not productive. But when I hired every salesperson, including every manager that ever hired a salesperson, we had the same thing. Here's what we need you to do. Produce 1 sale within 3 months. If you can't, we can't have you here. Clean and clear as a button. Do you know what happened? Most people fired themselves. And then if we thought someone had talent and was a slow starter, which I left in the hands of the manager to decide, they would say, wait a minute, we think you have such talent, we're going to push for you another 3 months here. But what pressure to produce? Clarity. And when you say so to someone, you know, sales is not for you. You know, it's been 3 months and we love you to death, but you really would be much happier doing something else. Nobody's upset. We had a fair deal. We told you straight, clean. And now, of course, this happens, you see? So we didn't have anyone upset leaving. And my partner used to say when people left my office when they were fired, you'd swear they were promoted. They left so happy. Because I convinced them where their talent was, and it wasn't in sales. Because I got a chance to watch them when the company was smaller, you know, what their strength was. And I would tell them, here's what I think you're great at. This, this, and this. You need to find someone that's going to plug into that strength. Okay. No
Yes.
more knife stuff.
No, that's fine. And start thinking of questions, because I'm going to have you guys start lining up at a mic. But you wanted me to ask you about building a referral network.
I wanted you to?
Yeah, you on the phone. You mentioned it.
Did I really? Okay, let me see what I can.
We don't have to. I mean, we
no,
can.
I just wonder what I was referencing.
And sales, like a referral network with people.
Oh, yes, I know. I forget what I called it. Yeah, it's like a referral network. What I found, you have a lot of rich people in New York City, and it's a rich market, and you always have different groups of people coming in from different countries, right? So I had to build to match the profile of who's coming in. And what I didn't have initially was rich ladies. And the rich ladies, frankly, didn't sell very well because they had so many other options like shopping, right? But I started a network which was really effective for about 5 years, and I didn't need it because I got real rich ladies who were hungry and really did well for me. But I said, you know, you want to be our referral director. That's what it was called, a referral director. I'll give you the business cards. Everyone you go out with in your social circles, you can give your business card and say, I'd be very happy to help you find the right broker for what you're looking for. And so these rich ladies started bringing me leads. And
Were these salespeople that work for you?
Not salespeople, and they didn't need to be licensed. It just said referral director, I think I'm remembering. But it was enormously useful in my middle ground or earlier middle ground because I couldn't get rich people to work for me that were productive. And then it changed. Rich women got hungry when they wanted to divorce their rich husband. No, that's a little joke. But rich women started to get hungry, and I was able to develop full-time salespeople. But that got me into the rich area because we were a low-price firm. You know, I'm a blue-collar girl. I was able to attract people who liked me who were blue-collar, and that's not so good for high-price sales in Manhattan. I had no way of pulling it up.
So that it was a very prestigious title. So they could say, I'm the referral director.
I work.
Okay, right.
I work.
Right.
Now it's a status.
And did you give them a percentage? Or
Thank you very much. I gave them a 10% referral fee.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea.
But I'm sorry, before I was able to pay them a 10% referral fee, they had to take their licensing exam and pass.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, which they happily did.
Yeah, great. Okay, guys, if you have questions for Barbara, come to a mic. Go ahead and line up. There's always going to be someone looking around. Don't look around.
I don't believe. Is this a woman stepping forward? It's always a man at first. There's a woman coming before you, and she's stomping her heels.
Yeah.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
So,
Give us your name first. It's
Sure.
a chance to advertise.
All right. I'm Leah Shilabad. I'm the IT Princess of Power. I own Intech Solutions just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You said insect solutions?
Intech, but
I know.
sure,
In tech.
whatever you want. So I've been following you on social media, watching some of your speeches on YouTube. You're fantastic to listen to. There's so many amazing nuggets.
Thank you.
And I noticed that you just started a podcast.
Just started. Scary.
Yeah, it's good. I've been listening. So how do you decide what makes sense for you where you are right now with your marketing mix and how you're getting yourself out there?
You know what? You ask a good question. I wish I could say this is my priority. But to tell you the truth, I'm buck shooting all the time.
Okay.
I'll tell you why, because social media is where it's at. I'm smart enough to know that social media today is my New York Times and Wall Street Journal publicity stunts I pulled back then.
Okay.
They don't count anymore. I mean, I guess they count, but they really don't count. Okay. Social media is where it's won if you want to be a somebody. That's the new newspaper of today in a big way, okay? But I only understand that basic principle. There's lots of platforms that have different age groups, different, what you put out and whatever, and I surround myself with young people. I'm smart enough for that. But beyond that, I have no idea. I just throw a lot on the wall like I always did. But I'm willing to put a lot of energy to throw a lot on the wall and see what sticks. The one great thing you have today is you have something called likes. Mm-hmm. So that gives me a sense of where to go, more left, more of this, more of that. But isn't it a science? No. And you know what? I think people act like it's a science and there's a formula, but I've met more social media experts. I don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're selling their services. I think you need to develop an attitude, which I think I have, which is let me just try everything and see what the hell works. You know, because it's changing anyway under your feet as you're trying things. And so you got to be loosey-goosey on it, you know. But not to do it is to ignore the possibility that you are making an engagement or relationship with an individual. People think of like, I used to think this, like, okay, I'll tweet this out and those people. No, I look at it differently now. I tweet it out and that individual is getting it. So I think of it, which I can relate to better, I'm building an individual relationship, because the minute you start to think it's like a broadcast, like a speech, like boom, it's the wrong way to go, because it's really an individual you're trying to connect to. And can an individual rally and support you, send you their friends? Absolutely. And for me, what does that materialize as? Endorsement deals. Okay? If I get engagement, as they call it, which I get tons of engagement and good following, excellent following, but really even better engagement, because I understand I'm talking to one, I get my business, which doesn't probably apply to yours, but that's how I make my living now. I get tremendously lucrative endorsement deals. Nice. I could advertise in the New York Times, I've got engagement, I'm amazing. Nobody's going to give me an endorsement deal. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Go over here.
Hi, I'm Ivy from Palm Tech, and as a social media marketer and a soon-to-be podcaster, I love everything that you just said. My question is, did you ever struggle with the imposter syndrome?
Of course. And I don't think it's only female. Okay, I think it's generic.
Well, explain what that is.
I'm in a room, I walk into a room of developers, including, or even the first meeting with Donald Trump. What the hell am I doing here one-on-one with Donald Trump? He was a big shot then, and I was a nobody. I hustled my marketing my way in, because I embarrassed him in a report that showed him as number 10 versus number 1 in a certain category of condominiums. And so he invited me, and I wasn't surprised. But once I got in, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? What am I going to say? Boy, was this a mistake. And that followed me in every situation I was in. Like, I don't deserve to be here. Okay? I don't do it so much. I don't do it anymore, I have to say. Well, maybe for 3 years. But I'll tell you more importantly, what might be helpful is my solution to it, or my little individual head thing on it. When I would be in a situation that I didn't deserve or didn't know enough, or the other people more powerful, more prestigious, more educated, more wealthy, more and you could list it. In insecurity, you could list all the assets on the other side real fast, you know. I would start doing negative self-talk. Just even listening it is negative self-talk. So you know what I would do? I would say, what would a man do? You know, like, I'm going to take credit for that even though I don't deserve credit. I'll tell you, I've arrived at this even though I'm just starting. I learned to lie through my teeth and brag and go exactly opposite to the Catholic girl that I was raised at, which my mother always said, the meek will inherit the earth. Well, in New York City, the meek don't inherit the earth. They get chewed up, spit on, stomped on, eliminated. And so I would just stand up and pretend I was someone else. And you know, that got me out of the rabbit hole. And then eventually, I got a new tape in my head, like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I should never come. I would have been better off, that kind of thing. And then another tape, well, you. I would get vulgar in my mind, you know, and just say, you're no better than me. I mean, I didn't say to my head, you're no better than me. Your dad gave you all that money, big shot. And so I get myself mentally going, and that got me to speak up. I have an idea. And you know what? I was super creative. I always had good ideas. Doesn't mean they were knowledge, but I learned I put it out there, and just, I don't care if they acknowledge it. You know?
I think a lot of successful people, at some point, you know, you just sit there and you go, you second guess yourself, but you don't want to ever show it. Never see them let them see you sweat, so to speak, right? And I think women are more emotional, and we kind of get ourselves into those lathers more so than men have to have that persona of being strong, and so they do it just because that's what they're supposed to do. But I think every successful person, deep down somewhere, there's a little insecurity, there's an uncertain.
Or arrogant. Well, maybe not with our president.
Yeah. So it's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
sure it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to go over here. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Clint Arthur, celebrity entrepreneur. And
Did you say celebrity entrepreneur?
Yes.
Interesting title. What's that?
I help entrepreneurs become celebrities in the eyes of their customers and prospects.
Wow, good name then. Nice tie, by the way. Pretty
Thank
color.
you. Thank you. And by the way, I saw Donald Trump when he was elected. 3 weeks in, he was holding a meeting and he goes, "Could you believe it? I'm the president." So even he has some who am I, as you were talking about. My question for you is, what's the most important thing you ever learned?
That's a big question.
I ask it to a lot of celebrities.
You know what first came to mind, I shouldn't say, but you know how truth comes to mind? That I'm not so good in bed.
That you aren't. That's what you learned. Like
I
you
learned
thought
that
you
I'm
were
not
good,
so good.
and
Yeah, I
then
thought
you thought you were good,
if you're a
and then
girl
found out
and
you were
you're
not.
reasonably attractive and your husband wants you, that you're probably pretty good in bed. I don't think I'm so good. But that's all what you learned. Okay.
You asked. All right. Next question.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't think of anything
I have
else.
no issue with it, but yeah. All right.
I guess I'm kind of in a bad position because I was going to ask you about your sense of purpose and passion, so maybe that doesn't quite cut the handle.
Timing is everything.
Time is anything.
Yeah,
Anyway, John
yes.
Notazzi, SNC Squared, IT service provider down in Southwest Missouri. Time to time, entrepreneurs go through the funk. It's the roller coaster ride. The value of you believe yourself or you don't, and things just sometimes don't go well. How do you find a sense for your purpose and your passion, and how do you revitalize that? Is there an internal dialogue? I know you touched base on that, but is there anything that kind of brings you back and gets you focused on what your ultimate purpose and what your ultimate passion is?
I don't think I have an ultimate purpose. I know by this point I should. When I was building my business, my purpose was to become the queen of New York real estate. I saw it on day one. I knew what I'd be wearing, and I saw myself as the Pope, because we used to have to watch him on TV a lot, where people come up and kiss the ring, and I thought I'd have a ring. But then I realized you have to do your nails, so I don't do it. So that was my sole purpose. And having a sole purpose, a defined goal that you can visualize, live in color, and taste and see and touch, because I could visualize anything. I feel like if I could visualize anything in my life, and it's all along been very true, I got there. When I signed the Shark Tank contract, and then I got the call 3 days before, and they said, "Sorry, we changed our mind. We hired another woman for that one lone seat." Why that didn't gel is because I saw myself in Hollywood. I had bought new luggage, expensive, 3 autograph signing outfits. I had the whole 9 yards going in my head. The movie, I'm going to Hollywood. I told all my close, I'm going to Hollywood. Did I tell you? You told us already. And so when they said they had picked someone else, my sense of purpose there helped, because I had already set my sights on, I'm going to be a shark, And it doesn't include fishing, which I thought it did at first. But that got me to sit down and write immediately a powerful email to Mark Burnett, the boss who rejected me, saying, I consider his rejection a lucky charm, because everything in my life happened. I'm paraphrasing. I wrote it very carefully. It was short and to the point, but I said something like, everything in my life has happened on the heels of a failure, including Sister Stella Marie, who was wrong, who said I couldn't be anybody because I couldn't read in 7th grade. The Old Boy Network, who said I'd never compete till I became the #1 broker. The Donald himself said I'd never collect a dime of the $4 million commission till I beat him in federal court. Yes. Whoa, no. Shh, no politics, okay? But I said to Mark, I think you should invite both women out to compete for the seat. And I hope to be on that plane on Thursday. And what do you think happened? If I didn't have the purpose, even then, regroup my purpose, my eyes are on Shark Tank, I wouldn't have written that email. I would have taken it in the chin and understood, they're in charge, not me. But that's what got me the job there. My purpose working with the entrepreneurs on Shark Tank is to try to create as many huge hits as I possibly can. Not me create them, they've got to create it for themselves, but to try to help them get there. Okay? And so I know you're supposed to have some other big purpose. Like, I love being a great parent. I think I'm a great mom as best I could be for my 2 kids. I think I'm a mediocre wife, honest to God, because I'm so hyper-focused on business. And God bless my husband's soul, even though he's still around. Which all my friends call him Poor Bill, as though he has 2 names. Poor Bill, like it's 1 syllable. So that's my purpose. But I know I'm going to get a larger purpose, either God or country, or something that's more respectable.
Awesome, thank you.
Got it. All right, let's go over this way.
Hi, Barbara. My
Hi
name is
there.
Stuart Bryan. I'm from Connecticut, and I am technology.
You look like a Stewart.
Thank you. And my friends call my wife Saint Vicky, so I understand. So anyway, as an entrepreneur, I think one of my challenges, and I bought my partner out about 2 years ago, is the fact that it's important for me to see my blind spots and then try to find people who can fit those blind spots for me. So
Good idea.
is that something that you strategically did in your businesses?
Very consciously, and everybody I ever hired in every department, yes. I think that at work you really only have 2 kinds of people, expanders and containers, and it's a natural born thing or how they were raised. I'm an expander by nature. I just want to see how far I could go, what kind of bullshit I throw out there. I'm one of those. Woo, 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 woo. I purposely hired a woman who came in and applied for a sales position when I knew she would be a terrible salesperson. But when I gave her my business card and she filed it in her little purse, she actually had partitions in her purse. Did you ever see anything like that? And I told her she'd make a phenomenal salesperson. I lied through my teeth why I wanted to get her into the company on a commission basis. She became my 10% partner, 1% a year for 10 years. I could have never built my business without Esther Kaplan. She would hide the money from me. She could increase credit lines. She got the file system color-coded. She put us on the internet first, beyond 2 years before anybody was on the internet in real estate. Esther was the perfect container. Button everything up. Every time I opened an office, I didn't hire a sales manager, which my competitor did. I hired 2 sales managers and made sure they were opposite. To your point, fill that hole. And I never visited those offices. They sang for me because I had the right parents at the helm. Same with department heads. Container expander, join them at the hip. You don't have to worry about anything. They naturally are good bedfellows. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, next question.
You already knew that. Why'd you ask it? You just said you did it.
It's that little voice inside his head.
What's with you, Stuart?
There's Stuart right there, yes.
Hi,
All right.
I'm Leah Fryman from ITCON in Spring Valley, New York. You have a lot of people coming to you and needing cash to continue with their businesses, and I guess you take a % for that of the business.
Yeah.
When is that decision made in a business when you need to continue your business growth in order to get cash? Do you take a partner or someone to invest, or do you just keep pushing?
Well, the nature of the Shark Tank show is people come for funding, and that's the role I play with the other people on the set. But personally, I don't believe in it. Truth be known, right? I think there's nothing better than bootstrapping a business. And I'll give you 2 reasons why, an example of why. When I was struggling with one of the bad real estate recessions, one of the 3 or 4 I lived through, I had Merrill Lynch come to me because I was getting their guys to find cheap apartments in their recruiting program. I had Merrill Lynch come to me, and a guy really fell in love with me, the way I was running the business, and he offered to buy my business for $50,000. I had only been in business, I would say, 5 years. Well, that now would be the equivalent of, say, $150. But I remember going, 100, so I'll put in today's terms, $150,000. And I said, I'll take it. And you know what? They never closed, they changed their mind, okay? Jump forward 4 years later, I have a guy owning a jewelry company offered to buy half my business, okay, for $120,000 when I owed like $400,000. I was in a mess, okay? I'll take it, I said. He changed his mind. 4 years after that deal, I sold it for $66 million cash, okay? Here's the lesson there. It's so complimentary when somebody wants you. Especially when you don't take your own business, you're so busy building it seriously, you don't think it's a big equity. When it becomes a big equity, it suddenly becomes a big equity. And why sell that balloon when it's on the way up the string versus, whoa, gets big and juicy, right? The other reason is you don't realize when you fund part of your business, I know this because I do it for a living now, and I'm not a pushy boss on any of my entrepreneurs. I get called on when they need it. That's my philosophy, right? But a lot of people who fund businesses are answering to a new master called the guys who gave you the money. And it's distracting. You know, how do you spend the money? Another opinion. I don't believe in committee decisions. I think most entrepreneurs know when they got where to move, when to move, what to do. But now you got other guys who usually have no experience, by the way, on entrepreneurship. They just got the bucks from corporate America. So I'm not a believer it's the way to go. I just don't believe it. You know, so even though it flies in the face of Shark Tank, for the real American small businessman, find a way. There's always a way.
Bank loans, interest, that kind of stuff?
Pardon me?
Bank loans and interest as opposed to a partner?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Bank loans and
Like get a line of credit.
line of credit
Bank, yeah,
as
of course,
opposed to a
bank loans,
partner.
lines of credit. I'll tell you what's wrong with lines of credit, though, is just when you really need it, if things are really bad, the bank pulls it back. I've had that happen. So I see temporary line of credit until you need it, and then that hand comes out and snatches it. You know, but you have to find a way. Usually the solution to anything in business I have found is more sales.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Peter, all right, we're going to make these the last 3 questions, okay? So, yeah.
Okay.
Peter.
Yes, can I go now?
Yes.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
thank you.
Peter.
Peter Verleza, SMB Networks. We're in Connecticut. How are you, Barbara?
Nice to meet you.
Yes, I did read your information and
Oh, you're the
listened.
gay man that was in the back. Lord Jesus. No wonder you're so well dressed. I love the cut.
Yeah.
Thank you. You started out, I'm usually not at a loss for words. You started your business with 7 people.
Yeah,
You navigated your way to 1,100.
yeah.
How did you get to those different steps? What methods did you use? What information did you pull from the outside? Really, how did you navigate
No
your
one's
way
ever
up?
asked that, and I have a great answer because nobody's ever asked me about it. I forgot about it. Here's what my method was. So simple. I started it, you know, with $1,000, of course, and I figured out what it cost to run an ad per week on Sunday in the New York Times, 7-line ad, 3-point height header. I could see the bigger headers worked, less copy. And I can't remember the numbers now, but let's say for a month I was going to, out of that $1,000, probably spend $300. I figured out what my cab fares would cost because you had to pay for the damn cab fares when you had a client, which I hated. Okay, unless you had a guy who wanted to date you and then he paid, which I let him pay, but I never dated him. So I figured that out, but here's the method that kicked in. I happened to rent an apartment the first week. I didn't expect that, $340. Boom, a month, and I got a $340 commission from the landlord. So I was ahead, not below 1,000, I was ahead. So what did I do? I went right out and hired another salesman because I knew I had that extra money to support one more person. I could put an ad in for them. I'd get a telephone for them. I could sublease a desk from the accounting office I was subleasing in for them. I used that method in my entire life, except the one person at a time turned into an office at a time. I knew now that if I had, say, $700,000 in receivables, I needed $450 to put myself through for the next 3 months. I knew I had an extra $300,000. I knew it cost me about $700,000 to open a new office. I would take that $300, put it to the side, and the minute I got the next $600, open a new office. It was the most simple methodology because I couldn't do math.
Your organization went from being flat and wide to...
It never changed.
It never changed, okay.
I just
That's
used
fair.
the method. If I figured out how much spare money in my pocket would buy me how many more people, and I built it as boringly as that.
Okay.
But
And
think about it, in a bad recession, I had no money coming in, so I had to freeze. So the things that got me ahead in those were like the one-day, one-price sale. or the next gimmick shit that I put out there that worked. Okay? But other than that, which isn't your everyday fare, you can't think of an idea like that every month, you know? I did that little methodology, and I did it on a napkin. You know, Esther could read a financial statement, analyze, do percentages, and she would like want to talk to me on that. I didn't know what she was talking about. But I had my own thing. What's my receivables? Half won't come in on time, knock that in half, delay it. How much money will I have then? Let's open an office. Okay, that's how I built it.
Just one last thing.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind? No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Just ignore him. He's not funny.
You know, now, you know what? Now I know you're not gay. You're off the hook because no gay man would ever have a bad joke like that.
Yeah. All right, Lisa.
Hi, Barbara. I am Lisa Shore from Secure Future Tech. We actually met last month at Continuum. My husband,
nice.
Eric, and I competed in the Shark Tank competition.
I remember that. You're a hell of a salesman.
Thank you.
Your husband thought he was, but you are.
Did everyone hear that? Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I actually took your words very seriously and really thought about everything you said. So
I'm sorry, your business was where? In Pennsylvania?
We're in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island.
Yes.
Yep.
And you're moving it to Boston, or hoping to, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Expanding our market into the Boston area, selling to law firms. So, but one of the things that actually, aside from that, you mentioned when you talked about during your keynote, making a happy office and the things that you did. And I remember a bus ride or something. I thought the group here would be interested to hear some of the fun things you did to build morale in your offices, because we all own tech businesses, and you know, motivating our engineers and our tech staff that are bombarded with issues all day long to keep them happy and not burnt out is a challenge. So what were some of the things that you did?
You must care about your fellow people here to bring that up again, because it's not for you. You already heard it's for them, right?
I do. I think that they would benefit from what you have to
You're a
say.
nice person. Thank you. What I had alluded to then, or explained, was one of the things that kept my office together and made it powerful and innovative, which I wasn't even shooting for, was having fun times. I would use anything for an excuse to plan a party or have fun. I don't mean the boring kind where you go at Christmas to a fancy New York restaurant in your best suit. I'm talking about dress and drag, where you don't get in, you know, where there's way too much alcohol, naked dancers, half naked, however I could go far on that. Bizarre times. Okay, and the one thing that you just alluded to was my very first time, which I only had like 14 people, but I hired an open-aired bus and told them to dress in their best wares and come down on Friday night and make sure the best suit was on, their jewelry. Where are we going? Where are we going? We had an open-aired bus. I said, come on up top, come on up top. I'm Madison. Handed out all the alcohol. They get, where are we going? We're going on a nice slow tour of Harlem, just when it was the scariest place on earth. In August, right? But I had one black salesperson, V. Wilson, who helped me plan it, and her best thing was when we got up to whatever the scariest street on the west side was, in the hundreds somewhere now. She said, let's have the bus break down and the bus driver leave. And of course, her recollection of that evening was perfectly put. She said, I felt like a flagpole with 8 white women clinging to me. But here's why. That was the beginning of imitating my father on his bizarre fun with us, because I saw the very next day my 2 rival salespeople at the water cooler, literally slapping each other on the back laughing. They hated each other. You can't have 2 powerhouses in one real estate office. They're like queen bees. They always want to kill each other. Okay? But they were getting along for the first time. And what were they talking about? What were you thinking? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Fun brings people together. When I sold my business, jump forward now 25 years, one thing I was worried about when all the big guys came in with their accounting firms to examine my books, I said, Esther, what are they going to do when they see how much money we piss away? Not this. And Esther, being right on top of her game, she knew everything. She said, how much money do you think you piss away, Barbara? It's not me. And I said, I don't know, 10% of our business, maybe? You know, are they going to like that? She said, you know what we spend on fun stuff? She said 0.00001%, whatever it was. That's all? Let's have more fun. a little bit of money spent, and what I did is I mandated as the business got older, because even though I was a ringmaster, I wanted individual companies to have their own interim fund. I gave every sales manager 1% of their billings, okay, to spend on fun. And if they didn't spend it by the end of the year, they lost it. And guess what? They found a way to spend it. But I found when people have fun together, they recruit for you, they don't leave. Why would they want to work for my arch rival when they could get the same commissions with the same support, nicer offices, because I spent a lot of money on that, and also have a blast and get drunk a lot? And I found that that was the key to my culture. And the key to my culture to the outside looked like we were the most innovative company in town. I am telling you, I never spent a second thinking or planning innovation. It came from all the people when they were too drunk to think logically. Really. And so I got tons of great ideas that I used and threw against the board. Yeah. Thank you for bringing up the fun. But it is the most underutilized card in business today, and such a shame because it's so cheap. And sometimes people say, well, I'm not really a fun type personality, but trust me, you have a drunk in your room that you could assign as chief fun officer or something. You know, it doesn't have to be you. It's just got to really be like funny, weird stuff, and people will love you for it. You know, it's better to have fun. Yes, sir. I think you're the last,
He's
probably.
The last question.
Yeah. Only because I don't see a body over here.
Well, yeah.
Thank you. So my name's Scott Mink with iTrust IT. We're out of Fort Worth, Texas, and we actually are cybersecurity advisors for real estate brokerages.
You don't even have a Texas accent.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess. But anyhow, so you are obviously a very strong woman, much like the woman to your right.
Oh, no.
I know
wouldn't
this.
want to rival her.
Oh.
She's stronger than I am. I can tell you, I can feel the vibe.
Very, and I know of which I speak. I've been married to a very strong woman for 20 plus years now.
Yes.
So yes, and she would probably say that she's been married to me and talk about the pain involved. But anyway,
I doubt that.
Anyway, think back. You mentioned with your sales staff. You mentioned when they take a big hit, how do they react, right?
The next what?
When they take a big hit.
Oh yes,
right.
Of course.
So think about in your past. Think about when you've taken a big hit. What I'd like to know is after you get past the, oh crap, what's the first thing you think, and then what's the first thing you do?
The first thing I think of immediately is, oh shit, I don't want anybody to find out about this. Embarrassment.
Yeah.
And that's deep in me. Save face, which isn't the right thing, I guess, but it is, because I don't ever want to be in that classroom again with the kids laughing when I'm reading. So everything feels like that to me, much more dramatic than it should be. So, how do I hide my mistake? And that's the beginning of the creative idea that becomes the winner. Every time. Every time. Okay, I can't name an exception to that. Really, even when I went on the internet, it was a result of inventing something that I thought was amazing. Amazing. I sold it to the whole company. Homes on tape. HOT. That's how hot we are. And it was all of our apartments on videotape. And of course, it was a loser. And Esther wasn't talking to me because I snuck the money behind her back. Okay? So I was in trouble no matter where I looked at it. And I was just thinking how to save face when my captain husband at the time, he was a weekend captain, told me he played war games in South Korea against the North Koreans on this new thing the government had called the internet in real time. I didn't know what real time was. Just to save face, because I had another sales meeting coming up, I threw all that shit on the internet, Corcoran.com. And what do you think happened? Not a right way to do it. I just didn't want to admit failure. Like, I'm an asshole. And I wanted to prove Esther wrong. Like she was going to leave me. She wasn't going anywhere. We were married, for God's sakes. But we had 2 sales out of London in the first week. And what do you think I did then? I immediately turned around and registered every one of my competitors' URLs under my name. Because you can't do that now, by the way. But then there was no rules. It was so fresh and new. And it wasn't like I was trying to own them or something. I just wanted to know when they woke up, because I just got a kick in my ass, like, what the hell is this? And I want to know when they woke up. And interesting about small business and big business, do you know the largest companies called me last? Like 3 years into the internet, they missed all that stuff. The little companies were on my ass right away. So it's interesting. And did I answer your question, though?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so any last final words for the people here? They're all entrepreneurs. They all want to grow their sales teams.
Final words. What do you guys want to hear? I'm a salesman. I'll tell you whatever the fuck you want to hear. Damn it, I promised my mother I would never use that word again every year of her life. She used it. Okay, what would you like to hear? What's the one pressing thing? What is the one pressing word you would think of in your field right now that's a challenge? Change? Personnel?
I think hiring is the thing that hiring is.
Yeah. Well, I've addressed hiring. What else can I say that might be useful in hiring?
Well, let's put it this way. If you and the other sharks got into a fist fight on stage, who do you think would come out on top?
It would depend if you could cheat or not. If you could cheat, Robert would be number one.
Oh.
Because he's a politician. He'd say, I love you, and then, what's that? A knife! Mark would just send in his billions.
Yeah, right.
Kevin would say, I give up.
Yeah.
Lori, I'd recruit to be on my side.
Yeah.
Who did I leave out? Damon?
Well, Damon, yeah.
Damon, I'd say, what's going to win this scrap, Damon? He goes, see that guy's belly button? Slam into it. He's a street fighter. You know, he grew up in a ghetto. By the way, if you haven't read Damon's first book, amazing book.
Yeah.
I think the best of all the shark books, including my own. Yeah. Wait, what was the question again? I'm losing. I'm getting old.
Well, I just say
Okay.
if it was you said if it was an unfair fight.
Oh, if it was an unfair fight.
But
yeah.
if you know if they could cheat, but.
But that wasn't the original question.
Yeah,
The
but if
original question
in like a fist fight, who do you think? You?
Oh,
Robert?
a fist fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It depends. How much time do you
She's actually
have?
like thinking about the answer
No,
to this question.
I'm picturing it. I have to picture it. A fist fight, it depends on a lot of varieties. How big is the space?
Yeah.
Okay, can you use a weapon or is it
Shark
just
on
your
the set,
fist?
on the set.
On the set of, yeah. Can you throw a chair? Can you lift it? Are you powerful enough to lift it? They're screwed in, so that doesn't count. Yeah. What product is it that you could use as a weapon and grab? But you know what? I'll tell you one thing about Robert Herjavec. I would have to say I might put my money on him, and I hate to even admit it, because I think I'm a good street fighter. Not physically. That's the part that throws me off. Fist fight I can identify with. Battle of the wits. I'll tell you what happened with Robert Herjavec, and it won my respect. I hated him for it. We're on a competition on Good Morning America. They laid down some stupid rules. We're in the streets hustling to sell lemonade or some bullshit that they gave us. And I know I'm going to beat Robert. I just know I'm going to beat Robert because I am better on my feet on the streets of my own hometown, blah, blah, blah. And then the minute before we stepped in the street, Robert said to me, Barbara, you have a beautiful outfit on. I go, thank you, Robert. And then he said, but I wouldn't have put those shoes on with it. Do you know my confidence went down the damn sewer? Because he's a beautiful dresser. Everything about him's perfect, you know? And I looked down at my shoes. I don't even remember what I had on, but I knew they were wrong. And he annihilated my confidence in that. We came out of the gate, the clock was ticking, we had exactly 60 seconds, and I took the first 30 seconds recovering from, God, I look terrible. All right, so that was clever.
All right, yeah, very good. Well, you've been
What
wonderful.
a bad story to end on, but there you go.
Yeah. No, you've been wonderful. Thank you so
very
much for being
Thank
here.
you very much.
Absolutely.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go off that way.